So this was not in my day plan. But sometimes you just find yourself on a route that you've wanted to do, and now you have to do it. But let's see how we started the day. I started in Lillooet at the south, and I worked myself counterclockwise. And this very first part of the video you saw was at the number 1. But leaving Lillooet is a highway, and it's just great asphalt between Lillooet and Cache Creek. Farther to the south of Lillooet is the Duffy Lake Road, which is the Destination Highways number 3 rated road in BC or something. But this road, this ribbon of asphalt, is just fantastic. I've driven it on a sport bike before, but in this case I'm on my Honda CB500X adventure bike. But it would be fun on a scooter, and I think it would be fun on a skateboard. But I'm just winding my way to the start of the route, which is up by Pavilion. So just coming in through here. And the next you're going to see is 2, 3, and 4. 2 is the climb up, 3 the plateau, and 4 the descent to Kelly Lake. So this is the climb. I'm probably 25 minutes into my morning, and just starting to feel terrific right here. It's a blue sky day, probably about plus 20 something already. Just marvelous. I'm out here on my own. So this is kind of in south of the Gang Ranch area, and I'd ridden the Gang Ranch in 2022, and so there are a couple of routes here by Lillooet that I wanted to do, and this is the day 1 route. And what's great is from Pavilion you're just climbing, and over to the right you can kind of see the highway there, and that you're gaining elevation. And that's what this day was all about. It was climbing up plateau, descending down to a creek or a water body, and then climbing back up and descending, and climbing back up and descending. It was just a fantastic day. And I think this footage will give you an idea whether this is the type of ride you would like to take. I was just doing it for the enjoyment. It's not a highly technical ride. It could certainly be technical if it was greasy or wet out, as evidenced in some of the areas where I could see some ruts, but on a dry day it's really quite good. This is up on the plateau, and as Corb Lund says, everything's better with cows around. So this was a really long plateau. I didn't show very much of it, but now I'm headed down to Kelly Lake. And now this is probably about 30 minutes into the ride, and I'm just grinning. I'm just having a great time here. And I'd been warned about the rocks. A lot of the rocks are quite sharp, and it would be easy to damage a sidewall, so I'm being careful, negotiating my way down here. This isn't too steep a grade. There is a little section up ahead that's a little bit steeper, but all in all, it's pretty good. Some shadows, and from the light from the trees, so you have to watch your perception to make sure you're not coming across any ruts or anything that you're unaware of. But this was just terrific, just winding my way down. This camera is a ram ball mount on the mirror that I'm using for this part of the footage. So, as I kind of turn the bars, the camera will track with me, and every now and then it'll catch my front windscreen, which I tried to crop out most of the time, but I didn't quite get it there. And then once you get to the bottom, you're at Kelly Lake, and you run along the lake for quite a ways, so that was pretty sweet. And then I'm headed to Jesmond Road. So this first part was a Pavilion-Clinton road. that first part was awesome. Now it looks like 56 kilometers to the Big Bar Ferry. And looks like I got a bit of a mosquito on the lens. So, try to clean that off a little bit and let's see what the ferry looks like. Okay, we're back underway again on Jesmond Road. And this is a fairly straightforward section. I actually should have turned about 10 kilometers up here, but I wasn't aware of that. And that's where Cougar Point is, and that High Bar Road. But as it was, I had planned this on my Garmin, so I was headed to the Big Bar Ferry Road. Again, some more cows in through here, just beautiful blue sky day. And always got to make sure that these guys aren't going to decide to run out in front of you, so just ease by them carefully. And now I'm on the Big Bar Ferry Road. I actually saw quite a few deer out through here, so be careful if you're coming through here, especially in the morning. So this was the route that I planned to take out there to the Big Bar Ferry. And this obviously is getting closer and closer to the ferry, winding down the hill, coming down to the river. And just, you know, beautiful switchbacks. Again, that's what it was all day. It wasn't just straight hill climbs, it was switchbacks either up and down. And now just headed to the ferry. So, you know, this first part of the morning was about 90 minutes to get myself over to the ferry here. So, nice hour and a half drive in the morning, just gorgeous. I hadn't seen anybody, nobody at this point out on the road, except on the highway part. But once I was on the gravel, it was just me out there. And so now, a little bit sandy, loading onto the ferry down here. The ferryman actually lives in a house just up here. And so now I board the ferry, and then I had realized something. So on the Alberta Dual Sport Forum, MX Collector had sent me this picture showing this 23% grade. And talking to the ferryman, I realized it was on the High Bar Road.
You got lots of time. I mean, if you want to take your time till 1 o'clock and sit up top, if you go back this way,
yeah,
and go down that way, and you'll pass my stepmom's house.
Okay.
And then you go to the top, and it says Cougar Point. Walk out to where they have that seat, and you look straight down, like this, and that house will be just like.
Okay.
But yeah, you go right there, like you go past it, and then you'll look up, and then you'll get to that Cougar Point, and you look straight down, and that house will be like that.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
Okay.
Okay.
And so now I've got about a 2-hour window to get back to the ferry so I can cross before he takes his lunch break. And I wasn't sure with the instructions. I kind of thought it was going to be, 45 minutes there and back, but it was a full 40 minutes to get to the High Bar Cougar Point that we had discussed there with the 23% grade. So here I am at the top. I didn't film the route going up, and this is what it's going to be like going down. And now the battery went dead on my mirror camera, so I've got the chin mount on now. So a little bit more head motion, you'll probably notice. Okay, so let's continue down this 23% grade slope. So Again, a little bit of sharp, shaly type rock here, so just being careful with the tires. And I'm standing up quite a bit, but every now and then I sit down, and then sometimes from the standing position I lower my head to see whether I'm actually in second or third gear, just to see if I am going to be downshifting and if first is still below me or not. So lots of hairpin corners here on these switchbacks coming down, with pullouts for bigger vehicles to get turned around in there and continue going. And of course the whole time you just see that beautiful river valley down and below you. It can be a little intimidating in a few spots. But basically I was just so glad to have found this. So the fact that MX Collector had shown me this route, and then I realized I had missed it, and then talking to the ferry guy, at first I thought, well, I'll just come back in 2 days and I'll just redo that first Clinton Pavilion, then head up Jesmond and make the turn for this High Bar Road. But he said, you know, it's pretty easy, just bomb back there and do it now. So that's what I did. It did change my dynamic for the day. I had kind of thought I might do another route after this one, but adding this extra 64 kilometers, I had a few concerns about fuel, whether I would be able to make the other run that was about 200 kilometers. So it just kind of changed the framework of my day. That other route was, you know, if I'm done early enough, it's not too hot, maybe I'll try to tie it together. But in the end, this was just made for a fantastic day. And I would probably do it this way again, because I didn't mind doing the High Bar route and coming around the wide way to the ferry, then back here and then back to the ferry. But it would have been shorter had I just come this way at first. So I guess if you're trying to make a lot of time and you want to double up on that route for the day, you could do that. But basically, I just thought I would film this so anybody that I might not have ridden with, or somebody that might be considering heading out into the Lillooet area, I would still highly recommend day one going up and doing Gang Ranch, then this route here on the Big Bar Ferry, worthwhile doing, and then tomorrow's route, which is the Highline route, was really the crowning piece of it all. And I was glad I had the full day to do that route. So here I am, weaving my way back to the ferry. As I'd mentioned, I think all day I'd only seen the two KTM 500s with full knobby tires and one 4x4 truck that I actually saw on this section. So again, I kept moving. I wanted to pull the drone out, but I wanted to get to the ferry to catch it before his break from noon till 1 o'clock. And I knew that he moored on this side of the river, which meant his last trip across was probably at about 11:30 to the other side, then back, and then stop for his lunch. So I just wanted to make sure I made it. But just beautiful countryside. Just gorgeous back in here. and exactly the type of ride I wanted to do. So yeah, this was perfect. This was a good safe level to ride alone. Again, not a lot of people out here, but it's not that remote either. So as long as you didn't go off one of those embankments and people didn't know where you were, then it might be a while finding you if you were seriously hurt. So here I am now on the ferry again and headed across. And so the only footage I'd ever seen of this before was actually coming down to the ferry from this side, but now I'm going up. And it's just climb, 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 up. And all these climbs up and climbs down, you know, they were at least 5 minutes, 8 minutes maybe, of solid climbing and winding your way up. It was just fantastic. A little bit of sand in through here, but nothing too bad. And probably filmed way too many of these hairpin corners, but it actually gives you, a bit of a flavor. You can look at it on Google Maps to get a sense of it, but it's just great riding this. And then if you peek over the edge here, you should be seeing the ferry crossing the river, and I think the 2 KTMs that were behind me are on that ferry crossing coming across. So that's probably his last crossing before his lunch break. Lots of cattle guards, lots of fences up through the area. And just continually weaving the way up, picking your line through the corner, looking ahead, making sure there's no one else coming. I'm back on the mirror here, GoPro. Oh, that's just a picture looking back down into the valley. And this demonstrates some of the areas where if it gets a little bit wet, you can get a little bit mucky and a little bit ruddy in through here. So of course it had been dry for quite a few days, so no problems for me. And then I, hit the plateau, and then again coming to a river crossing, so it's just down, 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 and then you cross the water body that's below, and then it's up, 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 up. And as you come around a lot of these switchbacks, if you look over the edge, you can see where you're going to be headed next, which is going the other direction, just right below you. And this part of the way out to Lytton from the ferry was probably 90 minutes. So I essentially had 3 90-minute chunks of riding with some breaks and some stopping for my day. I think it ended up being about 280 kilometers or so from my campsite south of Lillooet. Some more winding my way around. But if you like this type of riding, I would highly recommend it. It's a long ways from Calgary to Lillooet, but there's, with the gang ranch, with this ride, with the high bar or highline route, there's lots of fantastic riding out here. And of course, the Duffy Lake Road, which is the DH3, just top sport bike road. Unfortunately, a lot of it is now 60 kilometers an hour. So, and in BC, if you're caught doing more than 40 over the limit, they'll impound your bike for a week. So you need to be careful there. Okay, it's for some reason my screen went black on me and I stopped the audio, and I'm just piecing it back together here, so hopefully it'll play out. And then came into quite a burn area, from the wildfires from last year. Just enchanting to drive through. It's total devastation, but it's quite intriguing. And then here's a long look at the valley just before Lillooet. I'm about 10 kilometers from being back at the highway and back at my campsite.